Wow, for some damn reason, I'm late to my own stream. Who would have thought? Oh well, roll the default intro. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Jay, the legendary 501st Captain Rex, and I am late. Very, 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 very late to my own stream. I scheduled this at 1, but my dumbass completely forgot about it until the last minute. So, yeah. My bad. All of you that, yeah. And the one guy who showed up, I'm real sorry. All right. You all came for Jayhawk Aftermath, so I'm going to give you Jayhawk Aftermath. But you should be asleep if it's 2 a.m. Nah, I shouldn't judge my sleep schedule. It's already midnight. All right. First things first, thank you all so much for 1K subscribers. I honestly never thought I'd make it this far. I never... When I first started YouTube, I thought that with the videos I was making, my buddy FBear05 was gonna outpace me and put me into obscurity. I don't want to say I'm glad I proved him wrong, because he's still my best buddy. Well, one of my best buddies. So if you guys can, please go to his channel. His channel is the first little icon on the best buddies list, and thanks, Nynamis. Thank you very much. All right. And yeah, just get him to over 500, please, for the love of God. I want to help uplift my friends in social media, and if it takes bullying everybody here into subscribing to FBear05 and all my other friends that are in the best buddies list in my channel, then so be it. All right, you guys came for Aftermath. I'll give you Aftermath. Let's go. Jayhawk the Hedgehog Aftermath, Chapter 1.5, Sins of the Seven. 3 weeks after the events of Chapter 1, Nightfall had a fully functioning asylum for the 7 deadly sins. As the name implies, these 7 are the embodiments of sin in its most powerful states. Each of the sins were as follows. Sloth, a blue female wolf with an air of pure and utter disconnect and apathy for the world around her. Mind you, this is not in reference to Skylar Blue. Pride, a black and purple male hedgehog with enough ego to make Vegeta bow before him. This is not in reference to Ace or any iterations you've seen of Phoenix the Watcher. Gluttony, a yellow hedgehog with a hunger so deep that the only thing that satisfied him was the consumption of an entire planet. Lust, a pink female cat with enough charm and charisma to make the strongest of wills fail November regardless of whether it be a man or a woman. Greed, an interesting black and white wolf-like creature with a gambling addiction and the know-how of winning card games past, present, and future. Envy, a white male fox with enough jealousy to make 9 look like a schoolyard bully. And Wrath, a dark blue hedgehog with red and bleeding eyes with enough rage and anger that both he and the aligned continuity Megatron could hold a staring contest and have it go on for an eternity. Yes, I'm a fan of the High Moon games. What about it? It's not like I reference it every single time in my series. Hey, no more sewers, High Moon. Jayhawk was given a tour of the facility, and the only question he asked Nightfall was why they kept Lust in a room without any form of restraints or company. The question answered itself because Nightfall reminded him that this was the sin of every fucking NSFW side of every fucking fandom out there, fused into one. The only thing that kept Lust in check was basic conversation. It was that simple. That, and for some reason, she and Greed were a couple. Each of the sins were placed with what would have either enabled or canceled each other out. Am I dual streaming? No. No, I'm not. Sorry. I only stream on YouTube, unfortunately. All right. Each of the sins was placed with what would have either enabled or canceled each other out, depending on how one looks at it. Sloth was placed with greed, pride was placed with envy, and gluttony was placed with wrath. Lust was kept by herself for obvious reasons. Melissa, Nightfall, and Jayhawk discussed how they were going to get the sins to tell them anything about the mysterious name of the variant supplier and what the large shift in the multiverse was. Everything felt heavier, lights flickered more often, and the night sky seemed to glow a darker violet than its usual welcoming twilight. The agreement was essentially a shift change. Melissa, Acacius, Rayco, and Nightfall each got their days. At the same time, Jayhawk, in all his infinite wisdom, took weekend shift because his lazy ass has nothing better to do than track down other corrupted variants and cleanse them of the darkness. Yeah, I kind of put a little bit of myself in there. I'm a bit of a lazy ass. But it seems that while everyone wasn't looking, someone or something in some shape or form tampered with the locks and the systems in the asylum, and the Sins were planning a massive escape. And like the hell spawns they are, they do escape. Not before threatening Jayhawk with his life, or rather his afterlife, if he dared get in their way. Each of the Sins flew off into different corners of the multiverse, or rather the middle ground called the Interlude. It was up to our hero to get the Sins back to where they belong, or risk getting thrown around by Nightfall and the countless spells and magic circles she knows he can't counter. Each of the encounters with the 7 deadly sins are as follows. Sloth. Given Sloth was too lazy to even escape, recapturing her was relatively easy with enough coercion and enough chips and coke to last a while. At least until Jayhawk can get all the other sins back. Pride. The sin of pride was one of the more stronger sins, second to that of gluttony, but his strength is dwarfed by envy and wrath, the strongest of all. The trick to tracking down pride was anything flamboyant and overbearing. And enough to make Vegeta look like a little kid. When he got to Pride's palace, obviously purple. After a long battle, the two got into an ego battle where they just couldn't stop arguing on what constitutes as cheating in battle and who had the better looks. Melissa had to stop that fight because this was reminding her of the time Swift became so full of herself that she challenged a god to a race and lost. Gluttony was tough, but not as tough as the sin of lust. With Gluttony, Jayhawk had to recreate the battle between Zomom and Sonic from Sonic Lost World, which took a long time until the two made it to an all-you-can-eat buffet, located just on the edge of where the Sin of Lust was located last, which was a large and lavish casino similar to the one Breezy runs. Still, the androids she used are either broken, destroyed, or missing entirely. So, yeah, what a waste of Robotnik technology. Okay. Lust was one of the sins that Jayhawk wanted to be done with the minute he met her. Like, just done. Over. Get out. As he did not want to turn this battle into a Rule 34 flick. Given that Lust was one of the more sporadic ones, it took some doing to try and find her. But thanks to the nifty tool of plot convenience, Jayhawk managed to find a magazine that was somehow hidden behind a gun shopping magazine. He burnt the magazine just in time for Lust to jump in and snag it to be the contents. What was in the magazine was more or less the light stuff, just outfits and underwear, in which Jayhawk later broke the fourth wall for the umpteenth time, saying, "You guys disgust me, you know that?" Before turning his attention back to Lust, almost begging her to just turn herself in before shit's hits the fan. Just, okay. Sorry. Fucking stutters. Almost begging her to just turn herself in before shit hits the fan. She does, and after slamming her cell door, Jayhawk looked at Melissa with that one look that says, "We never speak of this again." Greed was a tricky one to find, but thanks to a couple of biomechanical interlopers selling their souls away for a card game, Jayhawk and the others managed to trace their signal to an old Western bar where Greed was feeding his gambling addiction with a card game that was a mix of Go Fish and Russian roulette called Bullshit. The trick was timing and wishful thinking. The deal was 3 rounds. If Jayhawk won all 3, Greed would come peaceably. If not, Greed gets to keep Jayhawk's soul. It was around this encounter that Jayhawk realized that the Sins were just semi-ordinary people who didn't ask to be locked up for no damn reason. Some of them genuinely had lives to get to outside of their obligation of being the embodiment of a sin. After some small talk and getting to know each other mid-game, Jayhawk won due to possibly the only time Greed would ever slip up in his life. Envy was a surprising encounter because Envy was Jayhawk's former friend, Michael Prower, except Mike was more cunning, ruthless, and acted like he was the top dog. Think Starscream, but shrunken down. Envy's story was different. While he was once Jayhawk's best friend, the two in his universe really never saw eye to eye. Mike, in this universe, was the son of Ninetails and a resident of the grim Shatterspace. He envied Jayhawk after learning of his origin, and he hated the fact that Jayhawk had become a god before him. He felt that he had been cheated all his life, and what he wanted, he could never have, which solidified his turn to the sin of envy. Jayhawk tried to reason with Envy, even tried to appeal to him, but Envy was having none of it. He was more than happy to kill another hedgehog he hated. Their fight turned into a standstill, with Jayhawk holding Envy by the scarf, demanding answers as to why he's doing this. Envy's answer was simple. If he could kill Jayhawk, then he could surely kill Wrath. The Starscream in Envy was showing, and Jayhawk was stupid enough not to capitalize on that. Envy threw himself out of Jayhawk's grasp and threw off, if it weren't for Nightfall catching Envy's escape at the last minute. If it weren't for Nightfall catching Envy's escape at the last minute, Envy would have caused irreparable harm. Wrath was obviously the strongest there is. He wouldn't go down without a fight. And he was the closest thing to a souped-up Megatron in this entire series. Wrath's anger was so great that he and High Moon Studios' War 4 Fall of Cybertron Megatron could have a staring contest for an eternity. What makes things so confusing for our hero is the fact that Wrath looked almost like him, but more or less what we kids know today was infected by a so-called EXE virus. If you guys don't know what the whole EXE virus thing is, I suggest you go watch Ropo from the Minecraft Little Club, which, by the way, I really gotta see if their videos are still up. It's been a bit since I've watched any of them. Yeah, later. Better yet, the two have a history. But Jayhawk doesn't even recall meeting someone like Wrath. That's because Wrath used to be Kai Phoenix. How Kai Phoenix became the son of Wrath is unknown, but it seems whatever pissed him off got rid of the insanity. But given who he was related to, that being some form of Skylar Blue, which, by the way, he found out what she really was, and the fact that Jayhawk actively destroyed his universe when there was an unknown alternative staring the dumbass right in the face. Yeah, there was a third alternative. A second option to when Jayhawk destroyed Kai Phoenix's universe. You want to know what that was? Leave that universe alone. Just let it crumble and die with the rest of them. Wrath and Jayhawk's fight spanned around 5 minutes in Dragon Ball time, which means 5 days considering the time it took for Namek to blow up. And by 5 days, I mean 5 episodes. Each around 45 minutes. Give or take. Yeah, someone in the comments put down how long is the average Dragon Ball episode real quick. I actually would like to know. Wrath did have a full power transformation, which he did clean the floor with Jayhawk. But given Jayhawk's current lack of divine transformations, even with the loss of super transformations, the fight drew out to a point where Wrath just got bored and tired of the battle. He did reveal that he was Kai Phoenix, which pissed Jayhawk off a little bit, but it was out of his hands now. Wrath did confirm that if the situation in Chapter 1 was to happen again, he would do the same thing again, which means he would have taken Jasmine. And given how his universe fared out, he too had a kid. 3, actually. Wrath handed himself in just so that he could kick the crap out of Envy after Jayhawk told him of Envy's plan to overthrow Wrath should he kill yours truly. Yeah, Dragon Ball type timing. With all the sins back in containment, Nightfall set up a ritual circle with all 7 sins in which they revealed Perpetua and the entity variant as the suppliers of the corrupted. While there was a way to reverse it, the 7 told Nightfall the location of the Dark Harbinger and gave a strange prophecy. He who strikes in the dark can never see the light. He who can't see the light can never strike she who festers in the dark. She who festers in the dark can never be broken by the will of he who guides the light. What really hits this prophecy is the logical side of it. Darkness cannot exist without light. Light cannot exist without darkness. If someone were to strike at Perpetua with so much light that it fills the entire corner of all the corners of the room, she would come back through the shadows cast by that light, that being right behind you. She is well and truly immortal and invulnerable because of the sheer logic of her creation. She is a constant throughout the greater multiverse. Any other version of her is just projection similar to Darkseid. There is no killing her. There is no triumph. She'll always come back, and the greater Sonic community will hate the Apex Titan who willed in her creation. It will take years to find the means to enter the dark multiverse, and with what Jayhawk has done, actively striking against hell itself unknowingly, there is a punishment. Same goes for nightfall. There are rules to be adhered to. When the ritual was complete and the sins now freed, everything seemed right until a certain someone made his appearance. A variant of Supersonic, who took the role of Lucifer, closer to the TV version of Lucifer in terms of personality, appeared and demanded to know which interlopers took his 7 generals. Unceremoniously, all 7 sins pointed to Nightfall and Jayhawk. Great going, jackasses. Now they got to do something for the years that it'll take to find the entrance to the dark multiverse. Their punishment was to mine in the tunnels of the damned for as long as Lucifer wills. And given that Jayhawk was a mistake of creation, he was going to be in hell for a long time. Ain't no God going to save his sorry ass this time. Given the multiple complaints of the tunnels of the damned being too damn hot, Lucifer and Envy constructed a cooling tank that would be strapped to the tortured workers' backs so that they could keep working. There was no way of taking it off if you're stuck in hell for eternity, and hell wasn't all lava and death as one would think. Yes, it looks post-apocalyptic, but the reason why it's so damn hot is the fact that the solar storms were a regular occurrence. The other hell, the burning and lava-filled one, was reserved for the crazies. Jayhawk's reaction to all this? If Eva saw me now, I think she'd be the one to actively push me down to hell. And then Lucifer laughed at him. And that is the end of chapter 1.5. Now, I'm going to take a small break. Unfortunately, StreamYard no longer allows me to put up videos to entertain you guys. So there's no fucking intermission. So I'm just going to loop the 30-second timer and hope and pray to God that, well, yeah. I'll be right back. I'm just going to get me some water. Yeah. And we're back. All right. Let's get a move on because, yeah, it is late and I got things to do tomorrow. A lot of things to do. Chapter 2, Inner Hell. Hell wasn't a nice place to work. The tunnels of the damned were by far the worst place Jayhawk has ever had to work. Surprisingly, he kept getting visited by envy, or rather a mental conjuration of the sin. Envy brought up some good points on how Jayhawk got to where he is now. Everything that Jayhawk has ever done, every person that Jayhawk has ever met, he took for granted. And when he felt like he was the problem, he took the worst measures possible and blew it out of proportion. Jayhawk is the very thing that is wrong with heroes these days. It's always on him, making it about him, his relationship, his world, his life. Envy has seen more than 1,000 worlds that believe that their heroes are the center of the universe, and it always brought him great pleasure to see him get humbled. He's seen a blue wolf get erased without so much as a second thought. He's seen bootlickers of other universes get a reality check so brutal the world nearly exploded in outrage. He's ripped apart outlier worlds built upon things as simple as fan fictions, and he's seen a shadow variant do exactly what brings Envy such pleasure, but with more finesse. I'm pretty sure y'all know who I'm talking about. Before Jayhawk's time in the tunnels was done, Envy left him with something to think about. If everything in life was truly against you, then why does the multiverse keep you around? If you were never meant to exist, why were you born? Why are you still alive to lament your dead wife and abandoned child if you were supposed to be 6 feet under from the moment you were born? Whoever gave birth to you wasn't a stroke of luck. Fate has a funny way of working. So before you throw your life away again, ask yourself this. If you were never meant to exist, why do you still cling to your friends and life as it's the last day on Mobius? You can't let go of the past. You never ask for help because you're too damn prideful and you rely on others. You're not a scourge. You, like Melissa, are a parasite. That right there was proof of Jayhawk's nature. In his eyes, every hand turned against him and his friends because he was never meant to exist, when in reality, he set up his own fate. His view of honor is cowardice. He never asked for help against Ultimus, yet he felt so damn relieved when his friends aided him enough for him to kill Ultimus. And for him being a parasite, Envy couldn't be far from the truth. He leached off the energy in his world, making it crumble and fall into the dark multiverse. And he was so damn stupid that he actually believed that the puppeteer still had Eva's soul in their grasp. We'll get back to that when I show off the rebooted story of the Manline series. He fights for change. He tries to change himself, yet now that he's dead, he gives up halfway. What does that make him? Just like everybody else. Nobody. A goddamn parasitic nobody. After Envy left, Reiko and Nightfall appeared to bail out Jayhawk. He didn't want to go at first, but then he remembered he still had a job to do after Reiko reminded him about the gateway to the dark multiverse. And it was back to the grinder once Melissa confirmed with Lucifer that Jayhawk is back with them. From this point forward, Envy would take on more of Joker's role in Batman Arkham Knight. He's a mental figmentation of Jayhawk's twisted mind, but he still tries to wear down our hero like it's nobody's business. When the cast, Melissa, Cassius, Reiko, Jayhawk, Ray, and Nightfall, enter the archway into a barrier world, they see some familiar shaped keyholes. The Chaos Emeralds? No. These emeralds were more of the Super Dragon Ball variety. They were called Omega Emeralds. Nobody knows how they were created, but legend has it they have the ability to open gateways into the dark multiverse. You need 5 to open the barrier, and 2 to open the hallway into the Singularis Archipelago, where Perpetua awaits. Multiple heroes have tried to kill Perpetua by taking the easy way, that just being a ring portal into the dark multiverse, expecting Perpetua to be some easy dime-a-dozen dictator. They were wrong, and they died. Pitifully, might I add. And there's a lesson in here, folks. You take the easy way without going through the first few hundred tutorial bosses, you're not going to make it to the final boss. Better yet, the final boss is going to kick your ass harder than fucking Dark Souls. Each of the Omega Emeralds has its own properties. Said properties are emotion, memory, history, hope, chaos, control, darkness. The 2 that activated the hallway were control and darkness, while the ruins are activated by emotion, memory, history, hope, and chaos. All of them affected Jayhawk in some form or fashion. Oh, hey, Nine, what's up? Red. With Reiko's help, Jayhawk managed to locate the Red Emerald, but the Omega Emeralds weren't just something to collect. You had to pass a trial to collect them. Given that the Red Emerald represents emotion, the trial involved intense emotional challenges. Each of them is drawn from Jayhawk's past. The idea was that if Jayhawk can control his emotions, the emerald would be his. Unfortunately, Jayhawk was never great with his emotions. He lashed out when he saw Mike getting hurt. He struggled immensely when he saw Ella on the verge of death. And when he saw his daughter suffering, it nearly broke him. He nearly gave up. And if he gave up now, the emerald would be lost. When the next apparition showed up, he wanted to lash out, seeking revenge for what he saw. But seeing the emerald so far away, he tried to control his anger. With each attack, the emerald got closer. Each controlled strike, every measured breath, and each and every life he saved brought the emerald closer. And when he took the emerald, he was transported to the ruins of what used to be Melissa's home, a source of great emotion as magic. Well, the source of great emotion is magic. It took him 3 days to return to the Phantom Realm. Blue. The Memory Emerald was located in the Dreamscape Nebula, the heart of the dreamlight magic that Melissa wields. To say getting there was easy would be an understatement. They had to find the dream spire that connects the Reverie to the Nebula, and it was hell to get back up and running, mostly because Nightfall kept using her dark magic to repair it, but they managed to get it running. After an encounter with Arium, the guardian of the Reverie, yes, I mentioned Sonic Dream Team, what you gonna do about it? Jayhawk was granted access to the Memory Emerald. When he entered, it was probably his worst test yet. He saw Eva wandering a boardwalk path, yet she was always out of reach. She kept calling out to him. She was scared. She didn't know where she was. Yet every time Jayhawk managed to get to her, she appeared in the reflection of the water. It was one of those worlds. Warped gravity, a dimension underwater. Everything was just out of reach. He couldn't make it to her. The idea of the trial was for Jayhawk to learn to let go, something Envy made painfully obvious before. Envy even appeared to tell Jayhawk the whole "I told you so" speech. If Jayhawk couldn't let go, then he wouldn't get the emerald. But at the same time, Jayhawk would lose the only person who ever gave him the will to fight. Reluctantly, he began to let go. It drew Eva closer. The more he began to dissipate his past, the more Eva came back to him until the two embraced. Before he was warped away, he promised that they would be together again. When he reappeared in the real world, surprisingly, he had no memory of the encounter. All that work for nothing. And to make matters worse, everything came crashing down again because Jayhawk reappeared near a similar campfire that made him remember the night he killed all his friends. He threw the emerald at a wall in a fit of PTSD and buried his face in his hands. Even Envy reappeared just to mock him. Envy left shortly after, but when Jayhawk returned, he held on to the emerald. He didn't remember why, but he kept it. Yellow. For an emerald that can control history, surprisingly, it wasn't where it was supposed to be, an endless library. Or rather, when it was supposed to be in that matter. Someone had already taken it. Someone who had a lot more experience with the emeralds than Jayhawk. When he returned, he thought he was going to be in the Phantom Realm so that he could go back and tell Melissa that they needed to rework the strategy, but he reappeared in a realm that seemed to predate the Phantom Realm. Yet still had a large portal to the dark multiverse. Once again, he who watches has once again intervened and challenged Jayhawk for the emerald. The two fought across the dark multiverse and even fell into a Lazarus pit, which later enhanced Jayhawk's chain so that he could do multi-chain attacks. They kept fighting until, in a stroke of luck, drawing once again on his emotions and memory, he transformed into Stardust Supersonic, or rather, an echo of it. Instead of bright blue fur, his fur was black with rainbow eyes. Both Phoenix and Jayhawk fight for their loved one's memory, but the one thing that will always separate the two is that Phoenix took his rage and shaped it into a force for change, while Jayhawk took his memory and twisted it into a spiral, looking into the abyss and blinking. Jayhawk may have fought for change in himself and others, but what once grounded him became the one enemy Jayhawk could never overcome. And after Jayhawk took the emerald, he was returned to the Phantom Realm. Another successful mission was in the book. 3 down, 4 to go. But when Jayhawk made it back to the Phantom Realm, he was confronted by Sonic, the Hedgehog. Or rather, some variant of him. This Sonic called himself the Tyrant, a Homelander-esque Sonic who rid himself of everything that makes a Sonic who he is. In exchange for power, obviously. Scourge done right, in a sense. He can also travel to other universes, seamlessly blend in as that universe's Sonic, just to have his fun. Was it any wonder the Sonic we know didn't understand Jayhawk way back in the mainline timeline? Tyrant was Jayhawk's real father. He just found it stupid and somewhat hilarious that he had a one-night stand with Jayhawk's universe's Amy, and it somehow turned out to be a multiversal problem. Jayhawk wanted to kill the Tyrant right on the spot, but he was outsmarted and thrown back into the Phantom Realm. The last thing he heard the Tyrant say was, "Give my regards to that whore who called herself the Queen of Blades when you get sent to hell next time," before he vanished. Safe to say that pissed a lot of people off. Cyan. The Hope Emerald would have been easy to locate if it weren't for a series of unfortunate events back at the Phantom Realm, involving Nightfall discovering a realm that is more to her taste. Given her past ties to the Mafia and using said Mafia to fulfill her own desires, and Reiko once again running into the Deadly Alliance. But the Hope Emerald was in a place drained of hope, a world Acacius dubbed the Other World of Darkness. In that other world, remnants of things Perpetua discarded because she didn't like them or she didn't want them in her own personal zone. Weirdly enough, the shape of the other world was similar to the Batman insignia. Someone altered the challenge. Someone who knew this would happen. When Jayhawk ventured into this world, the one thing he couldn't shake off was the fact that someone or something was stalking him. He ran into the residents, which, as it turns out, they were survivors from the worlds of Jayhawk's friends. Dusk the Nebula Wolf, Nina the Mexican Wolf, Annie the Grey Wolf, Shy Lily the Husky, Shimmer the Red Wolf, and a currently chained up Swift the Arctic Wolf were from Melissa's world. Think of them as Twilight and her friends. Better yet, they're actually called the Sex Pack, but slightly better. From Reiko's world, there was Tommy Cage, Absolute Chill, Kythera, Sindel, and Shao Kahn with a chained up undead Drow Kai. The chains were connected to the corpses of Melina and Lizard. And just so you guys can put names to faces, Tommy Cage is obviously Johnny Cage, Absolute Chill is Sub-Zero, Kythera is Kitana, Sindel and Shao Kahn are obvious, Drow Kai is Liu Kang. Melina, obviously you guys know who Melina is, and Lizard is Reptile. From Nightfall's world, there were Artoria, Gilgamesh, and Hercules, and from Ray's world, there was only Big Boss, Kazuhira Miller, and Paz Ortega Andrade. The original challenge was to use the emerald to return light to a darkened part of the island. Now the challenge was to return hope to the inhabitants. Jayhawk had to dig a bit deep for that one, as he never raised people's spirits before. One by one, he visited the inhabitants, trying to raise hope, and slowly he did. It took a while to get through to Swift and Artoria, given their past, but Drow Kai was just hungry for flesh, given that he is a zombie. In the end, he got the emerald. Green. You could say that this emerald, this Omega Emerald is the Chaos Emerald. It even functioned like it. The emerald was set in a Mobius, familiar yet distant. This was the world of the alternate Mark that came to visit his Mobius around the time Jayhawk's universe came to an end. Obviously, Mark wasn't too happy to see Jayhawk after the shit he pulled, but what was there to do? Trying to talk him out of shooting him wasn't going anywhere, but at least the two agreed that once Jayhawk was done with the emerald, he'd give it back. It was a promise Jayhawk tried to keep, but we all know that's not happening, given how the Omega Emeralds function. I just said they were the Super Dragon Balls of this world. Gray. The Control Emerald was somewhere not a lot of people would have thought. It was in a world hybridized with an old movie called The Thing, a shape-shifting alien that was responsible for decimating 4 different research teams. While getting around the Arctic base that once belonged to R.J. McCready was child's play, figuring the shapeshifter was the hardest part. He kept seeing a strange little guy appear every now and then, but never really paid much mind to it until he realized that that little guy was the Thing. But due to budget constraints and the lovely plot convenience of being in a facility where you can make homemade flamethrowers, Jayhawk managed to beat back the alien and find the actual person. Their name was Rain. Given their nebulous effects on their clothing, Jayhawk couldn't tell if they were an experiment, a god, or just one of those people who are smart enough to put effects on their clothes like it's fucking Fortnite. At some point in time, he was visited by an entity calling himself Wayne, who laid it all out for him about the dark multiverse and the whole logic of it. It doesn't matter what Jayhawk does, it's going to end up the same. All roads lead to darkness. Each of the new abilities that our hero got were as follows. Red, sonic chains. Blue, in a blur, that means his speed is increased. Yellow, multi-chains. Cyan, super spin attack. Green, chaos control of the actual teleportation variant. Gray is time break. Purple, we don't know. The final emerald couldn't have come at a better time. 9 years in the void does wonders for a guy like Phoenix the Watcher. Phoenix drew 8 different souls from different realities, some of whom Jayhawk knew, and challenged them. After exposing Jayhawk for the multiversal scourge he is, Phoenix once again challenged them to a one-on-one. Jayhawk and the others did their damnedest, but eventually won. Jayhawk got the last emerald, and now there was one more fight he had to take care of. One last obstacle to overcome. Perpetua. Perpetua, the harbinger of the dark multiverse, would have been no easy task. When Jayhawk went to face her, there was no turning back. Melissa and the others couldn't follow him, but they could watch him. As Jayhawk made his way to the entrance of Perpetua's archipelago, named the Singularis Archipelago due to its proximity to a frozen black hole. Yes, you did do that. He was stopped by Wayne once again, only this time Jayhawk finally got a good look at him. This wasn't just someone with spikes on their head. This was possibly the greatest threat to the multiverse that went under everybody's noses. The Batman who laughs. The Batman with the body and logic of Bruce Wayne and the madness of the Joker. Long ago, the Batman who laughs after Barbados' defeat was looking for a source of dark energy that could aid the DC Universe's Perpetua's release from the Source Wall. And what better luck did he have in finding a multiverse riddled with unbridled chaos and darkness? He manipulated events in certain worlds and found the perfect target to handle this multiverse's darkness, not only feeding his multiverse, but also spreading an unstoppable darkness into the greater community. His work was more than complete, and he was making his leave under retirement. When last left, he left behind a joke. Have you ever heard about the one about the guy that thought they could cut the strings from the character and the creator, Trust me, I've never had a fur coat that spiky. As much as the joke barely made any sense, laughs still got a laugh out of Jayhawk's confused face before leaving. When Jayhawk finally activated the totem and Perpetua appeared, there was no immediate action. To be honest, Perpetua was actually surprised after years in the dark multiverse to see someone finally put the work in and get to her and not ring portal like the other schmucks. She confessed that she thought she would have probably spent eternity blasting away complete and total nobodies who think they can comprehend what true power is and not get anything out of it. Sure, some people deserve to be flicked away, and sure, some people didn't deserve it, but in the end, they made their choice to cheat the system. If Jayhawk did the same, then she never would have taken any interest in him and his actions, let alone his story. Each world Perpetua had consumed had a story. Stories she laughed at, scoffed at, threw away, or sat down to invest in. She had a partner who taught her that much. The world Jayhawk came from, bastard son of a homelander and a tragic anti-hero who tried his damnedest to love but had it all taken away from him, it almost reminded her of someone she used to know. The two explored the Singularis archipelago and even sat down to look at the event horizon. Perpetua was a collector. Each chunk of the islands was a piece from dead worlds that she liked to keep around. The campfire from Jayhawk's world is one of them. When you take the time to understand the villain, there may be more to them than meets the eye. You might even find yourself in them. Why am I awake? Because sleep is for the weak. Then the time for talking was over. Perpetua then gave her challenge. Climb the Tower of Doom, clear all 6 levels, and then she will await him at the 7th. Do this and win, and she'll let him see the truth. If he loses, well, let's just say the dark multiverse will become permanent residence. Each of the levels was a face from Jayhawk's past, or some warped fragment of it. Level 1, Sydney, Mobius minus 93. Level 2, Ella, Mobius minus 21. Level 3, 7 Deadly Sins, Sloth through Gluttony. Level 4, 7 Deadly Sins, Lust through Wrath. Level 5, Sin of Envy, Mobius minus 44. And level 6, the Queen of Blades, Mobius minus 83. If there are multiple Perpetuas, there just so happens to be something in my homeworld literally called Perpetua. The only problem is that it's somewhere only accessible in the PC version of the map. Well, shit. You make a character and then you find out that she's a lot more well-traveled than you originally thought. Huh. All right, moving on. And then, obviously, level 7 is Perpetua. Let's go. Sydney from Mobius minus 93 was a shattered reflection of who Sydney really was. She embraced her cybernetic side, and she was a full-on mech, rivaled by that of Mecha Sonic. While her power and skill were unmatched, her power core was her weakness. Jayhawk ripped it out before throwing Sydney's corpse towards the door. Ella from Mobius minus 21 wasn't flesh and blood like the Ella Jayhawk knew. This one was a shadow android designated F-3774, configured to house the Scepter of Darkness and thus fueled by the influence of Mephiles the Dark. Like with Sydney, whatever was powering Ella was her weakness. If Jayhawk can beat Mephiles back long enough, he could easily dispose of Ella. And that's what he did. After beating back Ella's shadow copy attack, he ripped the scepter from Ella's chest and left her to deactivate. The next 2 levels involved the 7 Deadly Sins. Sloth was a generic hallway. I wasn't kidding. I wasn't kidding for the sin of sloth. They are that fucking lazy. They just give you the next room. Pride, a mirror hall of hostile reflections. Gluttony, food-based obstacles. Lust, nightclub brawl against jokers, gang members. Greed, gambit-esque playing card obstacles, so exploding playing cards. We're about to make a name for ourselves here. Envy, a long ladder with green bats trying to knock him off, and Wrath, a mocking wall. By mocking wall, you gotta Senator Armstrong that thing if you want to get through. Level 6 had a battle against the sin of Envy once again, and we already know about Envy's story. When Jayhawk beat Envy once again, Envy cast himself into the void, denying that he ever needed to be saved. He lived as a mirror of Starscream, and he returned once again to the sins with his tail between his legs, like Starscream. The 7th level would have broken our hero if the Sins Gauntlet didn't. This would have been the one that tested him the most. I actually just realized that we skipped 5. So when I say... Actually, you know what? Let me go back and change that right now. 5, 6... Okay, pretend I said level 5 when I mentioned the Sin of Envy. The 6th level would have broken our hero if the Sins Gauntlet didn't. This would have been the one that tested him the most. The Queen of Blades, Eva, is a broken shell of her former self in Mobius minus 83. She conquered Mobius, became who she was meant to be, and was never hurt again by anyone or anything. But when her moment of triumph came, the Overmind abandoned her. She was nothing more than a tool for the Overmind. All that pride, all that ego, all those feelings came crashing down, and it broke her. She couldn't handle another betrayal on this magnitude, nor could she handle all she did. She came back to her senses too little, too late. She was taken by the Dominion and poked and prodded until she lashed out and killed everyone. She spoke in a tired whisper and a tone that would have made emotionally broken more of an understatement. When she and Jayhawk fought, Jayhawk couldn't bear to hurt her further and managed to knock her out with a headlock. Now it was on to the last level, Perpetua herself. Perpetua wasn't the type of villain who would just fight as is. She's a multiversal constant, a dark harbinger, the villain to end all villains. She's got the will to break reality and laugh in your face, doing it as she rips apart the next layer. Their fight drew to a point where Perpetua bent reality to show reflections of themselves in different universes, each one pointing out something in them. Stage 1, Megatron versus Elita 1. In Megatron, there's Jayhawk's wrath, while in Elita 1, there's Perpetua's determination. Stage 2, Anakin Skywalker versus a corrupted Ahsoka Tano from the Mortis arc. Anakin Skywalker is supposed to represent Jayhawk's sense of justice, while Ahsoka Tano is meant to represent Perpetua's drop into darkness. Stage 3, Red Hood versus Harley Quinn. Red Hood represents Jayhawk's willingness to end fights then and there, while Harley Quinn is meant to represent Perpetua's madness. Stage 4, Deadpool versus Ladypool. Both of these represent Jayhawk and Perpetua's inability to get over themselves. And finally, Big Boss versus Paz Ortega Andrade. Big Boss is meant to represent Jayhawk's courage, while Paz is meant to represent Perpetua's deceptive nature. However, during each of these stages, some unforeseen force was watching them, waiting. Jayhawk noticed it out of the corner of his eyes, each of them in different forms. In Stage 1, it was Optimus Prime. In Stage 2, it was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Stage 3 with Batman. Stage 4 with Wolverine. And Stage 5 with a nuke. When Perpetua warped reality back to normal, that unforeseen force made itself known. Phoenix was back, and he was more than ready to deal with Perpetua. Jayhawk was going low. Phoenix called her face. She might have been ready for anything Jayhawk could do and was somewhat aware of the Watcher's presence, but she never anticipated the two working together. That was what almost ensured her downfall. When she got tired out, Jayhawk landed the finishing blow, which a portal to the void opened. Phoenix pulled a Batman vanishing act after reminding Jayhawk he owes the Watcher a debt, confusing our hero. And I think I may have just given Phoenix a few ideas. Fuck. Whatever. When he entered the portal, Jayhawk, with Melissa and the others still spectating, ended up coming across someone familiar, yet unfamiliar at the same time. It looked just like Jayhawk if he were a woman. This was Kitty Hawk Adeline Rose, Jayhawk's gender-bent counterpart. Unlike Jayhawk, Kitty Hawk was the polar opposite of Jayhawk. While Jay was out there getting shit done, Kitty was more reluctant. She was a complete role reversal of Jayhawk and Eva. She ended up developing DID after her first transformation into Super Kitty Hawk, similar to Sonic and Supersonic in Fleetway's universe. When an accident occurred that turned her Mobius into the same state as the Moon in Sonic Adventure 2, she had a chunk of her mind removed from her, that chunk being her alternate persona. That alternate persona became Perpetua, leaving Kitty Hawk to lose her mind in the void. Jayhawk couldn't stand it. She had more than passed the point of no return, and the only thing that could have made her whole was dead. After the two got into a fight, Jayhawk snapped her neck as an act of mercy. It was done. Over. He won. The multiverse was saved from total darkness. The Batman who laughs was gone, and now there's the question of how the hell are we going to get back? But we all know he isn't. This is the void. It's a one-way ticket. Suddenly, Perpetua reappeared, revitalized, and more powerful than ever. She stabbed Jayhawk through the stomach and the heart. It's like what was said before. Darkness never truly dies. It just reshapes. Light cannot exist without darkness. Perpetua was nigh immortal. When Melissa and the others were removed from spectator mode, Perpetua granted them reprieve. They earned her respect, but she still allowed them to leave, knowing that another was coming to pull them out. That other being was surprisingly Tails, or at least a variant of Tails that fully embraced his Kitsune heritage and became guardian of the light multiverse. When everyone met on the outskirts of the Singularis Archipelago, Tails granted them safe passage to a restored Mobius that was one-to-one with their home of origin. They will be brought back to the minute it all went wrong, and they have to save their worlds before it's too late. Their friends were waiting, and they could take the opportunity now. Melissa, dragging Jayhawk's body, requested before she went. Well, made a request before she went. She requested that that Jayhawk be reincarnated with his friends and family in the light multiverse. Tails couldn't guarantee it, but he could see what he could do. The story has two endings. Make of it what you will. Ending 1, canon ending. Jayhawk's final moments were in a dream. He was in a rainy apartment back at his home. After walking around, he climbs into bed. He sees all his friends at the edge of the bed. Eva crawled to him, kissed him, and the two fell asleep together. They earned this final rest. Meanwhile, on Mobius 514, Jayhawk took his first breath of fresh air in the light multiverse, and he ran off to his next adventure. Ending 2, Flashpoint ending. Whatever happened in the reincarnation process was interrupted by the Watchers. Somehow, someway, Phoenix managed to revive Jayhawk's world and inadvertently trapped the Phantom Realmers and Jayhawk on a world teetering on the edge of the middle multiverse. Jayhawk and his old friends were resurrected with memories of their deaths still fresh in their minds. They no longer trusted Jayhawk, and in this new era of devastation looms ever closer because now Perpetua is pissed off. More will be discovered in the next installment of Dragon Ball Z. I'm just playing with you. Oh, goddamn. Well, there you have it, folks. We did it. We got through everything. The mainline story has been rebooted. I'm on my way to rebooting Aftermath Chapter 1. It's done. Oh, and by the way, yeah, Season 3, Episode 3 is already on its way out. I just got to finish filling in the descriptions and everything. But other than that, we did it. We fucking did it. We made it through. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did happen to enjoy it, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I will see all of you in the next live stream or whenever someone gets to kick my ass again. Godspeed, good night, good morning, whatever. Have a good one, y'all.